should start, right? People would join in us, and I see recording has started. Awesome, awesome. All right. I would say good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I know people are connecting from various parts of the world, and I mean, in case you are hearing this and it's your mornings, your afternoon, is your evening, yes. Good evening to everyone. All right. We are about to kickstart this interesting session we have for today. And I know it's an awesome topic, but before I dive right into the gist of the day and the topic for the day, I'd just like to take some time to introduce the awesome speakers we have in the house, as myself. My name is none other than Promise Uche Nwachku, a Microsoft MVP. And I've been around the block for a while, leading communities, teaching and training people as well on various topics on Azure. And of course, it's always a joy, a thing of joy, trying to share knowledge with people. But amidst all of that, I have two awesome people today, two amazing, wonderful, intelligent, smart consultants, engineers, with so lots of I'd say amazing experiences in the field of Azure, right? Firstly, I'd like to introduce Chidi Ugu. He's an amazing engineer, a senior engineer, senior consultant. With I would say almost 7 to 8 years in this field right now. Providing guidance, troubleshooting, teaching, sharing his knowledge across all fields. Chidi, do you have one or two things to say about yourself as well?
Thank you so much, Promise, for the awesome introduction. So, as Promise rightly said, my name is Chidi. Uh, I've been in this area for some while now, though IT, as they say, is a continual learning process. So, we'll keep learning, we'll keep doing the ones we know how to do well.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that, Chidi. And of course, I have another amazing personality here in the house. A senior engineer as well. I think we all started, this field in the cloud, Microsoft together. And it's been awesome having to know him for almost 6 years, 6 years there about now, 7 years. And of course, he's been doing an awesome work in the Azure space and also in the community as well. So here I will be introducing none other than Ihe Anacho Chuku. Yes, Ihe Anacho, do you have one or two things to say about yourself as well? I
Thank
think
you
you're
so much for the introduction, really.
awesome.
Well, my humble self, not sure if people know me very well with the name. I've been colleagues with Chidi and Promise for a while, like you mentioned, way back from Microsoft. And I'm very humbled to be here, really, just to share my experience as well, learn from everyone, really. So, yeah, I specialize in Azure, I'm a lover of microservices and Kubernetes. So, yeah, I'm glad to be in the house.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you very much for that, Ihe Anacho. All right. I think without further ado, we should dive right into the topic. I would like to say welcome, Sylvester. Welcome, Kelechi. Thank you guys for joining. All right. So, in today's amazing session, we were deciding on what actually should we take, and of course this amazing topic came to light, and we said okay, it will be awesome to get to share more light on this. And of course, always feel free feel free to share your inputs, to ask questions if we are saying something you really don't have an understanding on. Please feel free to beckon to anyone. And of course, what we are here for is to provide you with to share our knowledge at the same time provide you with as much guidance as we can, right? So awesome. Yeah, today we are looking at the amazing topic, Azure Kubernetes Service. I'm sure you all have probably heard about this topic in somewhere, somehow. Um, yeah, I know it's a very, very popular topic, and people are always excited when you mention um, anything that has to do with Kubernetes, because Kubernetes, it doesn't just span across, infrastructure. It goes on to container services, and amazing things you can actually do with the Azure Kubernetes service. But just to give a brief overview before my awesome, um, will I say, colleagues take over or continue from where I'm going to stop. Um, Azure Kubernetes Service generally it's an open source container orchestration platform that you can use to deploy and manage containerized application. Yes, so you can see the definition is quite straightforward. People tend to understand, okay, it's open source. Yes, it's open source. Two, it deals with container orchestration. And three, it's a platform. And what then do you do with this open source that has to do with container orchestration and a platform is that you are able to deploy and manage applications. And some people would always ask most of the time, what advantages do I get, you know, making use of a Kubernetes platform as to probably doing this or hosting it somewhere else? And I think this is actually what makes the Azure Kubernetes service, interesting. One, I think because of the fact that it's managed, it means it you avoid, you don't go through all of the stress of setting up your cluster from scratch, right? Azure just has a simplified way to make it possible that with just few clicks of a button or few clicks from the Azure portal, right, you are then able to create your cluster, and you are able to do quite a number of interesting things. And that is really, really amazing. It's really, really amazing because you then get to understand the components, the little components, I must say, that make up what Azure Kubernetes Service is all about. Now, people would always ask, like I said, why is the Azure Kubernetes service better than, maybe doing some other infra deployment or some other infra service? One of the things it does is that it reduces the complexity and overhead of the operations you have to manage, right? So I mentioned something earlier that when you have to set up your Kubernetes cluster from scratch, right? You have to deal with, let's say, your network orchestration. So you want to be able to achieve a scenario where the servers which you are trying to make a cluster can communicate across one another, meaning you have to deal with your network, right? You also have to deal with making one a, let's say, would I say, I don't know if to call it the master and the slave servers, right? Because of course, when you are setting up a Kubernetes cluster from scratch, you need a kind of a control plane somewhere that manages every other um, server linked to the cluster. That is where the control plane resides, right? So you need to be able to set up your control plane, and as well as the other slave servers that will be working with the control plane. Now, with the Azure Kubernetes service, right, the managed service, you don't have to bother about that, because Azure just makes the whole process smoothly for you, right? And on the third point, you see here, it says Azure Kubernetes Service is an ideal platform for deploying and managing containerized application. So now you know very well that, okay, before you proceed with, let's say, deploying your applications, you need to build your image, you need to store your image somewhere. Right now, of course, there are other various ways where people store their images they build, right? But then Azure also provides a service, right? The container registry, where you can push those images you've built, and then at the same time grant those images or the container registry access to the Kubernetes cluster. So anytime you want to make any deployment of any application, you just need to call, just download that image into your cluster, and then you can then kick off whatever applications you want to deploy or you want to manage on your platform, right? So that's one. These are some of the very, very amazing things about making use of the Azure managed Kubernetes service. Now, I will go to just a simple diagram that also gives a brief explanation of how this works. I don't know if you all can see my screen. Yeah, I'm sharing an image. Can you let me know if you're able to see the screen? Can I
Yes,
get
I'm
any?
seeing that from here.
Okay, you can see the diagram showing, right?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Yeah, I can see
Awesome,
your screen.
Yes, sir.
awesome. All right, thank you very much for that. So, taking a brief look at this diagram, right? There's one thing I want you to notice, right? Remember earlier I spoke about the master slave scenario, where I spoke about the master being the control plane that handles all of the key functions of the Kubernetes cluster, right? So in that scenario, here is the Azure managed control plane, right? The control plane, look at it as that entity that helps to ensure that all the necessary services that needs to be done on the Kubernetes cluster goes fine. Mm.
All right.
Yeah, someone please help me mute Timothy.
No worries.
Someone please help me mute Timothy. I think he just joined in, right? So he's yeah. All right. So the control plane is that we call it a body or an entity, right? That holds or helps to manage the key functions of the Azure Kubernetes cluster, right? So you can see here, connected to the control plane is your API endpoint, and then you can see the app workload definition. Yeah, these are like configurations written by, it could be the developers, right? And because the control plane understands, okay, because the control plane understands what the configuration should be like, when the, what would I call it, let's say a developer, in this case the user, sends a configuration file, right? It's sent to the control plane through the Kubernetes API, right? Now the control plane then understands what this configuration file is asking it to do, and then it proceeds to say, okay, why don't these ports get to this place? Why don't this particular pod go to this particular server and stuff like that? So the control plane it just needs like a set of instructions for it to be able to proceed to do the major work you need it to do, right? So this diagram just gives a brief explanation or a brief overview on what the control plane and what the managed Kubernetes Azure Kubernetes cluster service can do for you. So I think at this point, I would hand over to my colleague, um, Chidebere, to pick up from here, and then I think he's going to actually shed more light, with you on how this whole setup works and what are like the best approaches in case you are looking at building your cluster or building your application. What are those awesome things you can do with the Azure Kubernetes service? Yes, hello Chidebere. I'm handing
Okay.
over to you, please.
Thank you so much for this awesome
Awesome.
presentation, Promise.
You're
So
welcome.
from here, uh, I'll give a
Let's stop
just
sharing
a
that you proceed.
okay.
All
Okay,
right.
apologies for that. So I'll give a under quick overview of what we've just done, and then continue from there. Just let me know once you can see my screen.
Yes, I can see your screen, Chidebere.
Okay. Okay, so basically with Kubernetes, you'll be able to, just like Promise mentioned, you'll be able to streamline your application deployment. So instead of manual, like the traditional method of pushing your code using file transfer protocols and the rest to either cloud or your desired hosting plan, you can containerize those applications either to Docker Hub or Azure Container Registry, and then from Container Registry you push that to uh, Kubernetes cluster to manage. So though those ones will do that in different series, but this is just to introduce the series we're about to start. Then on subsequent ones, we'll be able to create a Terraform script to deploy a cluster and also set up applications and the rest. But for now, so I'll focus more on the container solutions in Azure. So first, we have about five major container solutions in Azure. One is the Azure Kubernetes Services, as Promise has introduced. Then also we have Red Hat OpenShift, so which also acts as a Kubernetes cluster, as a container orchestration to manage your application deployment or infrastructure deployment. Then we also have Azure Container Instances. So with these Azure Container Instances, we're talking about something like similar to Docker Hub, that's Azure Container Registry, ACR. So where you can control your applications and push it to ACR to keep the images, and then you can decide where to download, deploy the image to, either directly to either Azure App Service Plan or to Azure Kubernetes clusters. Then the fourth one, we have Azure Arc enabled Kubernetes, so which is also another refined form of Azure Kubernetes, Azure Container Instances that can hold your applications, and then with a more refined scalability better than the Azure Container Instances. And final one, we have Azure Container. Uh, Azure Container Apps. Azure Container Apps is a bit different from Azure Container Instances in the sense that with the Container Apps, you can run your application directly without having to deploy that to different other platforms like Kubernetes clusters or app service plans or so. You can directly run your container apps. So the next is we have scenarios where you can use your AKS. So when to use AKS? First, we have a lift and shift of containers. In a situation whereby you have some on-prem applications or some legacy applications that you want to migrate those existing applications to containers to be managed or to run them fully managed by Kubernetes environment. So we can use AKS to manage such scenarios, to configure those applications to be in a container form, and then you can migrate that container to a Kubernetes cluster. The second is using a microservice architecture. So a microservice architecture splits application development into different modules. With these modules, instead of in the traditional method of writing a monotonic application, you wait till the whole enterprise application is written before deployment. With AKS, you'll be able to split that into different builds, and then as different features are being developed, you are being deployed to Kubernetes clusters to manage till the whole application is complete. And also, this helps in self-healing. Self-healing is a process whereby when a pod fails, automatically it restarts itself without a manual intervention from either the developer also. Then it can also load balance the pods or the applications within itself, routing traffics to different pods to ensure quick response to end users. And then also in secret management, Then we have a secure DevOps for AKS. Then this can help to balance the speed and security by implementing a secure DevOps with Kubernetes. In this sense, with Kubernetes cluster, you can implement role-based access control, just like normal Azure identity management. You can prevent role-based access control in Kubernetes cluster and then segregate access or permissions to different pods or maybe users that will be able to access the deployments that are in there. Then you can also integrate Kubernetes clusters to Cisco application infrastructure. So which is like a third party to that's a ACI. So you can integrate that to AKS to manage your nodes or prevision pods inside ACI. So the fifth one per se would be you can model or train your models, machine learning or integration of machine learning tools to your AKS clusters. So if you have like a data set that you're training on Python environment and then different kind of tools depending on the modeling or the workflow, or you can integrate that with AKS and all this makes everything robust and then the application will be deployed seamlessly. Then data streamlining, just like data modeling, and then you can also use Windows containers on AKS, not only Linux, because basically you use Linux in managing containers in AKS, but there's also Windows integration to that, which will modelize your Windows application and infrastructure depending on which of the servers that you are conversant with navigating to manage your infrastructure deployment. So, and a whole lot of other use cases depending on organizational architecture or use case. So, from this, I'll introduce my next colleague, Nacho, to give us the benefits of AKS and also round up on this. And then on subsequent videos, we'll start hands-on deploying Kubernetes clusters and applications to it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shidi.
I think I'll stop.
Yeah. So, well, as you have noticed, there are so many benefits of AKS really because it acts as an orchestrator to container engines. Now, we just want to highlight some of the importance that it also brings to play with its various features. So this will be like more of like available features that it can make use of from Azure and also integrated into AKS as a managed service. So the first one we have here is identity and security management. So AKS is able to enforce different compliancy controls using Azure policies. So that means you can have your policies pushed into AKS and we're able to control different kind of access levels to your clusters, to different deployments and what have you. I also have the Kubernetes rollback rule. That is, you have different access level. We have the admin access, we have the reader access, and things like that to control what level of resource a user or a developer or different group of persons, okay, have access to based on their job role in the organizations. It also integrates Microsoft Infra ID really into all of these deployments. So also have the login and monitoring. This gives like a streamlined operation visibility into the cluster using Azure Monitor, which allows you to have like a high level of health and performance of these clusters. So with this, you can be able to monitor your application, check their health, making sure that everything goes quite fine. And also when you have scenarios where you need to troubleshoot, you can easily read through your logs and pick through where issues are really. Yeah. So in terms of streamlined deployments, AKS offers smart solutions. You can also have things like KEDA, which is like a Kubernetes event-driven autoscaler, which tells the cluster when to scale up and when to scale down. without having any negative impacts on the infrastructure. It can also scale to zero. So a lot of streamlined deployments that AKS really introduces. So we have the cluster and nodes. Now the cluster itself, it's of course a whole lot of nodes working together to provide simple functionalities to have your application hosted in a streamlined way. Now we have the master control planes and we have the worker nodes. So these worker nodes are where you have your applications deployed into. So kind of can also have like multiple node pools, different kind of the need of your organization really. So we also have different storage volume that is being supported in AKS. We have the persistent data, different types. We have dynamic storage. We can as well use the Azure Disks. We could use Azure File. We could really use different form of combination, all depending on what works best for the organization, really. We can also put some of these things inside storage account for still a persistent store. So we also have other features like networking feature, which really allows us to explore different options. We could also have what we call container network interface, which allows us to bring our own third-party plugins. So there are a lot of things to really consider with AKS. We also have development tooling and integration. It has different integrations with like HEM, just like a other managed instance really. But HEM kind of helps us embed different manifests, okay, and deploys them like template. Is like a package, it's a package manager. So normally in Kubernetes, we have different YAML files, okay, that carries definition for each kind of workload, deployment, and all of that. And HEM kind of helps you to package groups of related YAML files for your applications and helps you better manage them. So we have also different integrations, Visual Studio Code, Azure DevOps pipelines, Istio. There are a lot of things you can really look into with AKS. Now, all of this will come together to really give us like just some brief ideas really about AKS. We'll be having more practical scenario to look through with. But the take home from all of this is AKS is a managed Kubernetes cluster. It helps for, it's a powerful platform for scaling, a lot of streamlined things to really look into with AKS. Don't know if we have any question here, but I really want to take this opportunity to thank everyone for
Yeah,
making it to this meeting and really want to just give like an open floor for questions and
yeah,
also to make us understand that this is just like a preamble to what we really want to do. We'll be having other series that will be also looking through different scenarios and different deployment options, even infrastructure as a code, using the likes of Terraform, integrating with Azure DevOps, and also looking at Dockerizing containers, writing our images, deploying those images from our registry to our Kubernetes cluster. So we'll go into more of that from our next session, but we just wanted to give like an overview of AKS, the architecture, systems, its benefits, and just an overview. So I'll leave the floor for any question.
yeah. Feel free to ask us questions from. I think we've said quite a number of things today. So yeah, let's not be quiet. Let's engage. I say everyone is so quiet. So I believe we have one or two things to say. So please feel free to engage. It's been quite, I know, a number of information we shared with you, but yeah, feel free to ask questions if you do have one. Wow, everywhere is quiet. Most of the times when I see when an audience is quiet, I think I would take it as, everyone understands, what we've shared today. Because trust me, when we are working on the practical session, you want to know these basics. Yeah, because the basics are really, really quite important. Yes, Daniel, please go ahead.
Yeah, I think we are waiting for the demo.
Yeah, demo.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
so
okay.
that's why we are quiet. We're waiting for the demo session.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, so today
I'm
actually
I'm
what we
very
can
curious with the CI/CD part with Azure DevOps. That
exactly. So
very
because trust me, there are quite some interesting aspects to this, right? So I mean, Kubernetes itself, it's would I say it's large? Maybe I should use the word it's large because with Kubernetes, you can have quite a number of integrations, right? Where even with your CI/CD pipelines, you can, deploy applications straight to your Kubernetes clusters, right? Funny enough, you can build pipelines to manage your deployment, your secrets, interesting, amazing things you can do with the Kubernetes service. And it's also a beautiful thing that it can integrate with almost every available service or existing service you have. So that's one of the many benefits
Oh,
it has. I mean, today we will just restrict it to the introduction, and on the next section we're going to have is going to be fully demo so that everyone can contribute and learn from that. Yeah, okay. I see no one is asking questions, so I would say maybe let's round off the session for today. Before I do that, Chidebe, do you have any last words?
Okay, I would like to appreciate those that made it to this session. At least I think I saw about 9 people here that joined. So thank you for your time. We promise that the next one will be so engaging. This is just to introduce the course, and then other series we'll be having. Then it will be more technical and then more engaging. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chidebe. Nacho, how about you? Any last words? Nacho, can you hear us? It looks like you can hear us. All right. I want to say thank you very much, everyone. It's been an amazing session for today, and I would like to say bye bye, everyone. See you all in the next session. Please, if you're not in the LinkedIn pages, join the LinkedIn pages so that you can get updated on when the next session will be coming up. Also, if you're not in the WhatsApp group, please from the LinkedIn pages reach out. We will provide you with details to join the WhatsApp group and all of that. At this point in time, I'd like to say thank you very much, everyone, and have an amazing weekend.
We can. Yeah.
All right, everyone. Bye bye, all.
Yeah. Bye. Yep.
bye
thank you
bye.
very much.
Yeah, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you.